we are filming place command, which is very similar to stay, except for it teaches the dog to have all 4 paws on a certain object, whether that be a bed or a mat or even a towel on the ground. And you can start to work on things as well, like putting them up on a log if you're out or on a picnic bench. It's great if you want to get them up onto the scale at the vet. It's great if you want them to stay still when while they're drying at home. You want them specifically to stay by the front mat while you go get a towel. So today we're going to talk about why it's good for nervous dogs, reactive dogs, dogs like Cooper here who can't really focus that well, and how it teaches them impulse control most importantly. That's one of the main reasons why I use it. Teaches them how to listen for a specific cue, because there's only actually one word that we're going to use to release them from this. It teaches them how to contain themselves. So if I want to have some guests over and Cooper's usually jumping up on those guests, instead of putting him away in its crate or holding him with a leash, I'm going to ask him to stay in place. I'm going to ask him to refrain himself from doing what he wants to do. Today we're just going to learn the very basic steps of place command. So him coming onto the mat, him leaving the mat when he's asked to. We're going to start with that. Cooper is in for a board and train for some leash manners, some focus skills, and some dog reactivity as well. So we're also going to work with some distractions, having some dogs around him, see how that work goes for him. So to start out with place command, I'm going to have Cooper is just working with a leash attached to the collar today. He's actually pretty sensitive to leash pressure. Otherwise, a lot of dogs will start out with the prong collar just so that they are feeling the slight adjustments that I'm making with the leash. It's important that the dog before this, it's ideal if they feel or at least are sensitive to leash pressure, because that's the only way I'm going to be giving him cues is using the leash guidance. So to start out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and I'm going to stop in front of the object, whether it be a mat or the towel, whatever it is you're working with. And the reason is I'm going to stop in front with him is to show him that there's a difference in the flooring. There's a difference between the grass and then the mat. Then I'm going to ask him, I'm going to say the word place, and I'm going to guide him on. As soon as his last leg pretty much is stepping onto the mat, I'm going to mark it with the word good, okay? Because if I don't mark him coming onto the mat, his next leg is going to be leaving the mat, and I don't want to mark good for leaving the mat, I want to mark good for coming onto the mat. Then I'm going to stop with him. We're going to stop for a moment. When I'm ready, before I do anything with my body, I'm going to say the words, let's go, and then I'm going to walk off. I don't want my body moving being a precursor to let's go. Otherwise, he's going to start looking for cues like this if I move, or my head tilt to release him from the mat, and I want him listening to my words to release him from place. Ready, buddy? If it's possible that your dog is unsure about coming onto the placemat, first you can start with some treats or just some simple leash guidance to show them that you want him to come on top of the mat. So here, Cooper. Yes, good boy, good boy. So he doesn't seem to have a problem coming on this mat, but if he did, I would try this repetition a few times just to make sure he's comfortable with the new object before going on to the training portion of it. Good. Let's go. Place. Good. Nope. Good. Let's go. Yeah. Place. Good. Good boy. So here I'm being enthusiastic with telling him good, and a couple of repetitions ago, when I said good to him, he got way excited and he ran forward. So for myself as his trainer, as his handler, I have to remember that it's important to use a tone of voice that doesn't overexcite him. It's still a tone of voice that maybe it's good boy, opposed to good boy, because it might get him too excited and he can't focus. And if he can't focus, then I'm going to have to give him a correction for doing something wrong because I gave him too high of a stimulation when I rewarded him. So it's just important to make sure that you stay at whatever level your dog can handle while still feeling like they're being rewarded. Let's go. Good boy. now that Cooper has successfully completed about 20 repetitions, maybe 30 repetitions of just the part where I stop in front, lead him on, say good, and walk him off. So I'd say let's go, walk him off. We're going to move on to the next part, because essentially in this portion, he's really just heeling with me. We're stopping in front, heeling onto the mat, and then I'm giving a command and I'm heeling him off the mat. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue past the mat, and I want him to stay there. So the only way that he's going to understand that his job is to stay is that if he comes with me, I'm going to say no. I'm going to mark the behavior with a no, and then I'm going to give him a pop on the leash, okay? And the no has to come before the pop. And the reason for that being, just like all of our other videos, where you have to mark the incorrect behavior, what you don't want, with some sort of marker. And for us, we use no, and then the correction follows. So whether he's pretty sensitive, so we're just using the e-collar on him, and it's also, you could use the prong collar, or a very low level on the e-collar as well. You could say no and give him a correction with that. Just showing him that him coming off the mat at that point is not what you want. All right, buddy, you ready? Correct him when he's coming off the mat. So you'll notice in one of the first repetitions I did with him, he went to follow me off the mat, and I had my hand that's holding the leash, the hand that's the side that he's on, kind of always stays back and is ready to tell him the moment he goes to step off. Because I don't want to tell him when he's already stepped off the mat, he's made it past the mat, because the problem isn't going all the way over here. The problem is the moment he stepped off the mat. Just the same as we mark good when he steps on the mat, you want to mark no if the moment he's thinking about stepping off the mat. So what that looks like is Cooper, come here. Place. Good. And then I step past the mat myself, but I keep my hand, that side that he's on, held back in case I have to give him a leash correction. Here, he's already committed to staying, which is great. If I have also maybe got too excited and dropped the leash because it looks like he's going to stay, and then he came off the mat without me asking, all I would do is say no, guide him back on the mat, and I wouldn't actually tell him to place again. The reason being, he should still be placing from the first repetition. So what that would look like is if he came off the mat here, I would say no, and then I would guide him back. Good. Now when I'm ready, I'm going to say, let's go, and walk off. Good boy. Things to keep in mind while you're doing these repetitions are you want to be convincing with your body language. So if I walk him onto the mat and then I slow down and I stop and I look at him like I was doing in those first few repetitions, he's going to know that I'm stopping and he's not very convinced that I'm leaving. Here, I'm kind of trying to set him up thinking that I'm leaving, and that's why I keep that backhand behind, but my body language has to show him that I'm leaving. Once I'm sure that he's committed to staying, is when that I might actually drop the leash and keep going. So throughout these next few repetitions, I'm going to walk him on, I'm going to keep moving. Once I know he's committed to staying, I'm going to pass him to the mat, and then I might start to actually drop the leash and walk further. Are you ready, bud? Let's go. Play. Good. Nope. Let's go. Yeah. Place. Good. Good boy. Let's go. Yes. Place. Good. In this wrap, I've dropped the leash. One of the triggers for a lot of dogs to think that they're going to be released is me picking up the leash, okay? But if I haven't said the release word to him, which is L-E-T-S-G-O, then he's not allowed to leave the mat, okay? So if I pick up the leash, no. Good. Good. Picking up the leash doesn't release him from the mat. My release word releases him from the mat. So I'm going to pick it up a little calmer this time. Good. Because he didn't come off the mat that time, I marked that good behavior that I like, the fact that he didn't come off, with the word good. It's the same thing I did when he came on the mat in the first place. Now when I'm ready, let's go. Good boy. Good boy. Try that again. Place. Good. Good. Let's go. Now we're ready to work on the next part. We've done about 20 or so repetitions again of doing the part where I walk past the mat and I expect him to stay on the mat. He's had one or two corrections. He didn't need too many, but it's okay if your dog needs corrections every time. Don't move on to the next part until your dog is staying on the mat when you're walking past. Cooper is ready for me to now challenge him. So you saw us challenge a little bit by dropping the leash and then going to pick it up. So it's going to work the same way. If I go to pick up the leash or go to do whatever it is I'm doing that's distracting him, and he goes to come off the mat, I'm going to mark that with a no. And also what I'm going to do is if he doesn't come off the mat, when say maybe I bend down, I'm going to bend down and I'm going to stand up again. Already you see bending down was exciting for him. That might be a challenge, a good challenge for him coming off the mat. If I stand up again and he has not gone off the mat or thought about stepping off the mat, I'm going to mark that with a good, okay? All right, are you ready? Right. Good. Good. Let's go. Yeah. Boy. Place. Good. Super. Good. Super. Good. Every time he hasn't come off the mat, for me saying his name, I mark that with a good. Good. You saw him catch himself there. He got excited because I grabbed the leash, but then he thought about it. No, I have not heard that release word yet, so I'm not going to leave the mat. Let's go. Yes! Yes, what a good boy. What a good boy. All right, try again. Play. Good. No. Good. Good. No. So picking up the leash is easily a trigger for him still. Good boy. Good. There I'm trying to be very convincing with my body that I'm going to leave. It's not just picking up the leash, because when I'm ready to go, I don't just do it calmly. I usually do it with some enthusiasm. No. Good. So because he didn't get it that time, I want to do it a couple of times till he gets it, then we'll release from the bed. Good. Let's go. Yes. Place. Good. Good. Nope. Because he didn't do it, I'm going to do repetition again. Good. Good. Good boy. You can see there's lots of things that I'm doing that are causing him to think instead of just react. I don't mind if he spins around or lays down or gets up and sits. I just need him to stay within these 4 constraints of the size of this mat. why place command can be a little bit easier to learn than stay. Unless the dog knows what they're staying on and those boundaries are clear, it can be a bit confusing, even for you as well. If he breaks that stay, you know exactly where he is, where he was, and you bring him back. Good. Let's go. Yes! Place. Good. Cooper. Good. Good. Cooper. Good. No. Cooper. Good boy. Good. All these things are things that get him really excited, right? They get him to go from that thinking part of his mind right into the reactive part, right? Those fast movements, right? This breed is trained to herd cattle, for example. So fast movements are what he's been trained to go after, right? Good boy. In between all these repetitions, I'm also telling him he's good. You saw that tilling, he's very cute. Tell him he's good for not coming off the mat. If I was to say the release word and he wasn't coming, because sometimes that starts to happen if they've had a couple of leash corrections or maybe a prong collar correction, that's the only word or phrase I'm going to repeat with enthusiasm without saying good in between. So he knows that word is something that I'm not finished with because I haven't marked good for staying. Cooper. Boy. Let's go. So this is a great first day or a first session for place command. We went from the beginning here. The whole thing takes us maybe 30 minutes. He ends on a good note, which is always important no matter what you're doing. Make sure there's a few good repetitions at the very end to finish him on. And now, so I'll probably do another session with him later today, and I'll probably have him place for up to maybe 10 minutes at a time for later by the end of today. In another 2-3 days of that, I'll probably have him place for maybe 30 minutes, and by the end of the week, I'll have him placing for up to an hour at a time. This is important for him to learn not only impulse control, but how to relax, okay? To teach the dog how to just hang out without going from window to window, looking for things to bark at, listening for noises at the door, and just, hey, maybe you could be doing the dishes or you're watching TV and he can keep hanging out while knowing that he's in charge of where he is. He's not being confined there. He's choosing to stay here. In that duration time, same thing. If he gets up and he wanders off, you're just going to mark that with a no and put him back. Make sure that he stays there for a little while after breaking it, even if he was almost at the end of his 30 minutes. If he's at 29 minutes and he breaks it, I'd probably put him back on for another 5 before asking him to come off. It's also another great thing you can do if the doorbell rings. Practice this. Instead of waiting to put him in place when you know people are coming over, try playing on a speaker at home. Try playing some doorbell noises, or have a friend or a partner of yours knocking on the door and challenge them if rushing the door is one of the issues that you're struggling with. Place command has a million uses, and it's also just a great way, like I said, to get them to learn how to relax, hang out, and just be a dog and not be worried about controlling or reacting at things around them. Are you ready, bud? Yes? Hopefully.